Okay, so writing out the drum chart is like a shortcut way of nailing the song very quickly. But another shortcut approach is to just have a massive repertoire of sort of cliched drum parts. It doesn't hurt that it's a cliche and everybody's done it before. Often I find that songwriters and producers, they love to hear something that's gone before. Everybody wants to be a unique drummer, the next John Bonham or the next Neil Peart, but for most rock and pop music, that's not what's required. I was telling you a time before, I used to play with this I used to record with this pop producer in London all the time, and on the last verse of a song going into the last chorus, I often used to do, like, he used to call it a flying brick, which has no relevance to the actual fill, but he used to absolutely love this thing, and every time I did it, you could see him punching the air in the control room because he really loved it. And so you sort of, the track might be, and then I used to go, I did that a couple of times that last take, and that's what he used to call the flying brick, and he absolutely loved it. Or he might punch the control room, talk back and go, flats in Dagenham, and that's it on 2, flats in Dagenham. So that kind of thing. There's all those kind of bits of language. But anyway, the point that I was making is knowing your cliches. If the guy shouts out flats in Dagenham, you've got to know that millions of drummers before us in the 1960s and 1970s played to start a song or halfway through a song, and you've got to know that drummers through the ages have gone. And if you don't know that, you're already on the back foot. The main way that I learned to play drums probably when I was a kid was just spending hours and hours playing along to albums. And I was playing along so I could mostly hear my drums, but then I'd hear the drummer on the record in the background doing something different to me, and I'd often spin it back and, well, what's he doing that's different to me? This is the professional drummer, he must know what he's doing. And then I learned from that, and if I heard something that I couldn't do, I would play that bit over and over again and work out, well, what's he doing and why is he playing that there. And so when I started to do studio work the first time, I already had a whole repertoire of, if you're doing a song, oh, this sounds a bit Motown-y, you know that it's sort of going to be, because you've heard that so many times on a Motown track, or if it's a heavy rock track, you know it's going to have lots of pushes and lots of open hi-hat. And if you're completely naive to all that and go into a hard rock album session and you're going like that with the hi-hat tightly closed, and it's just never going to work. So it's just good to hear what all the drummers from history have done and know that you're the latest evolution of everything that's gone before you, and to have all that in your back pocket as a quick fix. If you need a fill somewhere, you've already got like 10 variations of fills that you've heard before in this kind of situation. You go in on a session and the producer might say, oh, this track needs to be a bit Stuart Copeland-y, or this one needs to be a bit U2 or Coldplay or Marilyn Manson, and it's no good you saying, oh, I've never heard any Marilyn Manson. You've got to know what the drummer would do on something like that. Oh, I know exactly what you mean. And that's how you get hired for these things. And just going in for auditions with bands, you just have to hear what kind of band is this and what would a drummer normally play with this band, and you've got more chance of getting the gig with the band that you want to play with if you know what they want to hear. You're not going to get anywhere doing super fast double bass drums and technical stuff. Nobody wants to hear that. They want to hear how the song works, and you need to know. It's a drumming cliche. I know online everybody thinks cliches are really, really bad, but I think they're great. That's what everybody wants to hear. So with a song like this, it's a rocky song with lots of pushes. I already know that I'm going to be doing fills like that, and just a whole bunch of fills like that. And if the producer says, oh, it needs a fill after the first verse, but I don't like what you're doing, you need to have another couple, or something like that, or all those kind of things. They're all cliches that I've got in my brain already from past listening of other drummers, great drummers, and it's just good to know that stuff. I know there's a Jeff Porcaro talking about Rosanna, where he said he based it on Fool in the Rain, and so it's an evolution, but he knew what John Bonham was doing, and he developed it on that. You can't go into a recording session and just with a blank screen and a blank mind and not know where you're going to start